It is Tuesday. Good job, us. And we're talking about stress. And I think that may well have stressed you out. It certainly stressed me out. And I know that it will stress the entire team out when they have to listen to that.
Voice.
That
And we're talking about.
And we're on. Welcome to the morning show with Christina and Raquel. Raquel and Christina, the Bombshell Brunches duo that you know and love. You know what I was thinking the other day?
But a little different.
But a little different. And today may I introduce... I don't know why I've got this radio voice on, but I like it. Today, we are celebrating because today is our very, very first round table. And what does that mean, Raquel? What does that mean? Because you told me when I was like, oh, I think we should do something like this. And then you were like, this is what we're actually going to do. So go.
You told me. So the roundtables we're really excited about. We're going to bring on 2 guests at least. I don't know if we're going to be able to do more than 2 guests. We'll have to play this one out. But essentially, we're going to talk about shit that we're all going through. And we're inviting on different guests because I think they show up in really different ways. So today's was on how stress holds in our bodies, what we do to get rid of it, and for everyone that shows up in a unique way. So really fun conversations, amazing people. This episode we had 2 guests on that we have had before. So that was Ocean Bloom and Donna, and they're spectacular and bright and amazing.
And Ocean is a trauma release specialist, and Donna is an incredible actor and creative and singer, and deals with really high stress situations because, as she said in our previous episode with her, you're carrying an entire production when you're a lead. So we talk about the different types of stress. We talk about and I almost wanted to do this in my radio voice of, you know, like those infomercials where they're like, are you feeling stressed? Do you feel like your friends and your fire people around you are taking energy away from you? Then we have the answer to your problems. And the answer is this episode. Welcome as you join us on a journey of self-discovery and enjoy tips and tricks. This is totally unscripted, which is why it's rambly. Tips and tricks which will help you to immediately feel more at ease and more communicating with yourself in different parts. More communicating with. This is why I need to script first. With different parts of yourself. And the point is, we talk about friendships, we talk about toxic relationships, we talk about where you hold stress in your jaw and your shoulders. You know, if you're sitting here listening right now and you're like, oh, I'm really not breathing deeply into my stomach. You know, this is an episode as we move into winter, for some parts of the world, into summer for other parts of the world. But as you move into a phase of, you know, a year and a half into what we have now coined with Donna, thanks to Donna, the pandemic, and how our perceptions change when and how to kind of utilize stress, have good stress, and deal with it when we get close to burnout.
Yes.
Did I sum it up?
That's the whole episode.
There's much more. There's much more.
There is much more. And it was brilliant. And just go listen to it already.
Yeah. Okay, bye.
Bye.
Our very first round, like the Donna was like, yeah, clap, everybody claps.
Yay!
Our very first round table. Oh my gosh, I'm so excited. And Raquel is using her new camera. Good job. Good job. It works.
It looks good.
Yeah, right? She looks so great. So great. Okay, everyone, welcome. Welcome back. Donna Benedicto, Ocean Bloom. And we all know Raquel and me. We're just normal, boring people that come here every week.
Oh, you're nothing but normal.
Or boring. Normal or boring. It ain't either one of you.
Well, thank you. These are the two of our biggest hype people, I have to say. I mean, Donna, for those of you who don't know Donna, I mean, gosh, our episode with Donna was one of the first ones. Our episode with Ocean was one of the early ones as well. And the two of you are just, I think, the reason we came up with the term fire friends, and those people that you love to have around you that are hustling in, we've just established, very different ways, but still hustling, ambitious, badasses, so committed to their friends and the people they care about. My gosh, Ocean the other day sent me a message that was just like, I'm thinking of you and I think you need to come and have tea. And I was like, in the middle of having a meltdown, I was like, oh, I think this is right.
She knows. She always knows. She knows.
And Donna as well, you've been like filming. I've been loving watching all the things that you've done. Through your neck injury on one of those last films. We are going to talk today about how the body holds stress, and we're going to have a little chat. And I would like to bring that one up because you dealt with it so well on Instagram, but I want to know what happened in your insides of your mind and brain.
Reels are.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, you guys will get the scoop on that. Instagram was a nice escape, but yeah, you'll get the scoop when we get there.
Oh, dang.
So we were just talking about travel. We were talking about traveling because I know a lot of people are having a lot of stress around travel outside of the province. I haven't left the province in 2 years. In 2 years? Yeah, I haven't gotten on a plane. And Raquel has just arrived in where are you? Cape Town. You're in Cape Town?
Cape Town, yeah.
And so you're there for 2 months, and there are a lot of people whose lives are taking them on planes. How was that? How did your body respond to that?
We were talking about this earlier, and for me, it was kind of a mixed bag. For like the actual travel part was smooth sailing. Everything went well. I highly recommend getting probiotics, PS, because the biggest thing that I've been noticing lately with travel is breakouts. I've been getting a lot of
my
breakouts.
God.
So
Yes.
bad, and I hate it. And so I did all of this research before my last flight, and I was like, okay, we're gonna nip this in the bud. Drink a ton of water.
You're allowed to say shit.
Not shit water. Are we allowed to swear? Are we allowed to swear? I'm trying not to, but
Yeah, we are allowed. I think I've just had like a potty mouth recently, so I'm trying to self-censor. But and
Don't drink shit water like Ocean says. No, don't. It can't be shit water.
I want like a shit ton of
Clean.
water, but not like shit water, because that would be really gross. So it's clean water. Drink tons of it, and if you can drink water before you get on the flight so that you're already hydrated, and then just take an aisle seat so that you can get up a lot and you don't have to annoy the person beside you to get up 20 billion times because you're gonna have to pee a lot. But it saved my life. And then I moisturized, so it was a 10-hour flight, and I moisturized once throughout that 10 hours, and I was really good this time. Normally I really get like quite bad breakouts, but that was a really good one. And then the probiotic was, I think, helped a lot.
Donna, what you were agreeing? Why? What did you get breakouts from travel when you went to film in Montreal?
yeah, well, it could have been the travel or the prescription drugs I had to take to deal with my neck.
Right.
But like I had this I usually have pretty clear skin, and especially before a film, you get a facial and you really take care of yourself. And then it was around week 2 that all of a sudden my skin was just really angry. So the travel could have been maybe the bad food a little bit.
And
that
food that I eat, the comfort food I ate to deal with the stress.
Okay, but wait. Okay, so this was the other tips that actually I was reading up on for flights to not get breakouts. So one, they were saying if you can bring your own food. I know it's like it would have to be prepackaged. But they said the food that you get on flights is high in fat and high in sodium because they try to make it tasty in high atmosphere. So I didn't actually realize that. So, and those are both foods that aren't great for your
I love it.
And I mean, if you don't get
love
breakouts,
airplane food.
not a problem. It's like spongy chicken, like so gross. But
I'm glad you're saying this though, because I have a 19 hours flying
Oh,
at
okay.
the
So
end
that
of
was
the
like
month.
my partner. It was
Yeah.
10 hours, no, 9 hours and then 10 hours. So that was like a 19. Yeah, it's brutal. But
And the mask the whole
one's worth
time,
it.
or are you allowed to take it off at your seat
Only
now?
while you're eating. So you can't take it off throughout the flight. Yeah, and that's the other thing. So bring just I know I hate it for the planet, but really like for your skin, take disposable masks and then switch them every few hours. So as soon as you feel it getting hot or at all
smart.
moist, switch it out because that's the bacteria sitting in there. And if you think about it, if bacteria can't come in, bacteria can't come out. So that's just sitting in this whole area, right? And then breakout central. So
I
Right.
wonder if you could no, I guess not. That was an inside thought. And I just answered, I was like, that is the stupidest thing you're about to say.
Like, I just pictured it was a video of a man who wanted to wear his mask while he was eating, so him and his wife cut a hole in their mask.
The thought I just had, I was like, what about sticking a straw just through the mask? And I'm like, well, I guess that kind of defeats the purpose of having the
A
mask.
little bit.
I saw it happen. I do that all the time where I'm like, what?
just kidding.
And then
Yeah.
I just I just retreat. I'm
At
like,
least
no.
you have the impulse to stop. I just regurgitate it out.
You're like, did that duck come out of my mouth? Yeah.
It'll just come out.
Oh, well,
Oh, and
Ocean, you-
Another part of stress, right? No filter.
Yeah.
Verbal diarrhea.
That's a good point, actually. Yeah, when I'm really stressed, like, okay, Ocean, you and you have had a very close relationship with my stress levels, because obviously trauma release. Our first session was like an exorcism in my mind, and there was just so much stress that I held. But when you first meet people, like, I loved how you explained it. I want you to explain again, like how your body holds not necessarily trauma, but stress. And I know that they can be one and the same thing, or one can lead to another and vice versa. But what does that look like to you? Like, how do you describe that when people are like, I'm in high stress?
Or how about just
Contraction.
like you? How do you hold stress? Where
Well,
specifically?
actually, yeah, so a lot. So if I had one word to answer that, the first word that came is contraction. Right? Gripping tight, and stuff's not flowing when we're tight. So for me personally, I've noticed it like so intensely the last little while, because a lot going on in my head, a lot of change, is that my jaw, underneath my head, back of the eyes, back of the skull, so tight, like rock hard. So that's for me lately, that's where I've been getting it the most, is like in the head. Like it shows me I need to relax my mind a little bit. Like it's just so locked up in there. But I was mentioning yesterday, we were talking about the skin too. All of a sudden I started breaking out in hives, like patches where I was scratching, it was on my arm, and then it was like on my ankle, and it like moving for different places. I'm like, what is this? But yeah, there's a lot going on, and it's almost like there's too much. I literally want to crawl out of my skin. If we don't discharge and purge whatever's going on that's coming at us, then we get toxic. And I like you said the word trauma and stress. People often think, oh, trauma is like some major thing that happened. It's not. It's like, well, to me, going to the grocery store feels traumatic. Like that's stressful, right? It really is, because there's just so much going on. And often we don't realize, we think like, oh, I barely accomplished anything today. I didn't do a lot of stuff, but my jaw is tight and body's in contraction, because we're also protecting ourselves when we go out. There's just so much to be aware of, right? And now, especially with the mask and the hand sanitizer, and like our nervous system is like on guard, fight or flight, like, okay, what's next? Yeah. So yeah, I feel it in the head. I feel it in the skin. Yeah. I went for a massage last week. What I do, is that what your question? Yeah. So, and interesting enough too, like we're so fast here. I lived in Asia for 10 years. When you go for a treatment there, they'll treat you for 3 hours. it's not like an in and out, you know, you
Yeah.
deal with what's happening in the moment. So the other day I went for an hour massage on my face because it was so tight underneath here,
Oh,
right?
amazing.
A full hour. Well, I thought it would be amazing, but after that hour, I felt like I hadn't even done anything because I was that tense. So the reality is like I actually need to go for another massage, and because I've only massaged like released up here, but my whole body is tight. So I needed to go for another full hour. And I know not everyone has time to do that, but the reality is the amount of stuff you're taking in, you've got to take time to get it out, right? Or it's just building up a little bit. Just a little tiny thing here is not necessarily going to make you feel better. We need more love.
Yeah. I mean, Donna, you go for massage a lot too?
Yeah, I do massage and I'm doing physio right now. And I was just going to say, Ocean, I have a place for you here in Vancouver, this Thai place that's a little cheaper, and where the Thai ladies get on the table and just rip you, like stretch you out and stuff. And then, and I remember looking at it, I'm like, 2 hours for this? You could add, like, do this for 2 hours. And I did it for an hour and I was like, okay, I could see how you would want to do this for 2. So I'll let you know where that is.
And the beauty of that too is that Thai massage is based on energy lines, and they start at the feet, and the intention is to open the lines all the way up so that your entire body is like opening your chakras, ground yourself, get things flowing, get your power back, open the heart, right?
Into the throat. Giving me feels right now. I feel like this is what I need.
It's
so like I've got goosebumps. I got goosebumps now because it's a healing, energetic, physical modality that they used that before we had, modern medicine to take things away. It's like, no, we need to relax the body, calm the nervous system.
Yeah, I find acupuncture for me is a good acupuncturist is that way for me. Thai massage, for some reason, I don't think I found a good Thai. I found one good Thai masseuse who lives.
It can be really rough, right?
If someone's not energetically in tune. Yeah, I was like, you're just moving my legs, and I was like, ow, 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 ow. I'm not bendy. Don't bend me that way.
You're tightening up more and more.
I know, it's like
fighting this Thai lady. Like, no.
Yeah. There are people that take their anger out on you as well, and they're like, nah. The more you say it hurts, the harder they push.
It's their own stress release.
Okay, Donna,
I swear in Thailand, I saw Thai people beating white people up, like with the massage. They're like, no, you gotta do that.
Yeah, good.
That's funny.
Where do you hold stress, Donna?
Me. Well, I've always held stress in my shoulders and my neck. Even when I was a kid, if I you see pictures of me just sitting there like this tension, and it's like it's always, I've heard that it's very common for women for us to hold our stress here.
Responsibility, feeling responsible for everyone.
The weight on your shoulders, right? And especially right when you're a kid, if you see your parents fight and whatever, if you're in that situation, which like I was growing up, so it's like constant like pressure and tense back there. And then I got into some car accidents too when I was in my 20s, and then that just made it even worse. So, but it's like here, and my traps. My traps are like the strongest muscle in my body. When those Thai ladies go to town with their elbows, they're like, wow, so much pressure. I'm like, you could go harder. If the traps could be like a superpower muscle, I would have some superpower, but I don't know. Maybe I could.
Doesn't your martial arts contribute to that too?
To the tense muscles?
Yeah, like
the shoulders for sure it will. Yeah.
They tell me all the time, like, oh my gosh, relax your shoulders, because you're supposed to be relaxed while you're waiting to hit. And then you tense up when down. You're not hitting anything yet, relax. So that's where I hold my tension usually.
Right. Yeah. Well,
how about for you?
For me?
Yeah.
I'm pretty similar to Donna. I hold it in my shoulders a lot. And actually that really affects, I don't know about you, Donna, but I realized that was affecting my singing. So it was really starting to, in my neck and my shoulders, when I get a good massage. I haven't done facial massage though, and I think I really should because I know I hold it in my jaw a lot as well. But those are my main areas. And I have these knots in my back from when I did, I got a dance injury, which I love saying because it makes me sound like I'm a dancer.
Dance injury.
But, yeah, I'm like, oh, I got a dance injury while I was at theater school. Really what happened is I did one shit choreography that I couldn't do and put my arm in a certain way and went, oh, something happened there. and then I was like, oh, I have a dance injury, and so there's knots that like live there. Sounds super glam, but that's where I hold it. Where do you hold it?
I feel like, where do I not hold it? I was listening to her, I'm like, yeah, I've totally held it there. I think the only one that hasn't been mentioned for me is my hips. I get really, really tight hips, like crazy tight.
Interesting.
So that's a big one. And then definitely in the shoulders, I do think the kickboxing has something to do with that as well. And since laser eye surgery, like around my eyes, I never had that before.
When did you get laser?
2 or 3 years ago.
How do I not know this? What else? What else do I not know?
Stick around, Christina.
Well, apparently I have to.
That's another episode.
Yeah.
Things I don't know.
You.
Yeah. But yeah, since then, and I mean, I love the eye surgery. I think it's great. But yeah, since then, I noticed like I hold a ton. So I had lymphatic facial massage just before I came here.
How was that?
And that was really nice.
Yeah.
But then the next day I got food poisoning, and I was like, was it food poisoning or was it lymphatic?
You and food poisoning? Okay, Ocean, what do you think about charcoal? Because I always travel with charcoal, with activated charcoal.
Good.
Every new country I go to. It's not an
100%.
investment. It's $10 at the. So I told you this. You go to Whole Foods, you go, hello, where's the activated charcoal, please? And they give it to you, and it's not an investment. It's not like
and it's good for whitening your teeth. I used to open those caps up and just put it on there.
Really? I need to do that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So Raquel, you are just a body of stress. But the lymphatic. So I feel like I am as well. I feel like often like those glute muscles as well. I feel like I've done massages with people who have actually told me, okay, you might feel like you have stress and tension in your shoulders, but we need to work on this part in order to release the major muscles and the minor muscles. But I think that's an ongoing thing, right? So we've talked about the body side of things, but what happens if you can't afford, like I can't afford to go to massages all the time. What else can I do that's free? What can I do that's free to like release that? I mean, Donna, you do your kickboxing and, and boxing. Is it boxing or kickboxing or both?
Both. Muay Thai and kickboxing.
Muay Thai and kickboxing. So you two are very similar. I mean, Ocean, you're probably the same, but Raquel is like really big on high impact intensity training. And I quite like it, but I'm feeling like my body's changing, like in the last little while where I switching to more weights-based stuff. And then I add the cardio, like, I do the grind. And because that's like optimizing, getting a terrible workout in with this monstrous mountain, which Donna came up one week and smashed it. You did a great job.
I hated it the whole time. I hated it. Like, the view is great and everything, but I'm not a person who really enjoys exercise. I just do it because I enjoy the endorphins afterwards,
Yeah.
So I'll exercise and complain the whole time, basically. So.
And Ocean, you do a ton of walks as well. Like, I mean, all of us really go for walks. We're really out. We kind of.
I love doing the stairs at UBC, the trail there. I go up and down 5 times.
I swear, those are worse than the grind. Like, I used
No.
to do the grind I hate those stairs. Those stairs, and like,
it's not
taking all your stuff for the beach and.
No. The Wreck Beach stairs are different. That's another
Wreck
trail
Beach.
over. Yeah, this is another
they're not
trail
as
before
intense.
that.
Okay.
But it's just, I love it in the morning because you can go slowly and then you go right down to the ocean, and it is so therapeutic. And so as a stress relief, like I was doing that 3-4 days a week, and it really changes the morning. Like,
Interesting.
yeah, really, really good.
I know I meant to go with you. You kept inviting me. I didn't mean to go.
Yeah.
But it's hard because I find that like, even with the grind, I was like, I have to build that into my routine like so intensely. It's 2.5 hours, so I had to be up. And thankfully, Katie is like,
That's a big,
it's a big commitment. It's Katie wakes up at 5 anyway, does a full workout before we go to do the grind, like a monster.
She's
and
insane.
then she's next level. And then we do it, and I feel amazing, and I'm back and I'm able to start work and do whatever I need to do by 9 a.m. But that means that I don't really get anything else in. I get like the physical side, but I don't get anything else in. So, I mean, do you meditate as well? Donna, do you do meditation?
Mm-hmm.
What app do you use?
I just do my own meditation. I'll just throw on like a playlist. What's the music therapy playlist on Spotify is nice. Or the Dr. Wayne Dyer meditation thing's about 20 minutes. That's a good one to do if you're like, just if you have a little bit longer and just want to listen to one track and really get deep. I find that one really helps me. I feel like sometimes because I have such an active imagination already, like when I do the guided meditations, I'll kind of be judging it as it goes. I'm like, well, I don't really want to picture this right now. When they're like, picture you're in a forest. I'm like, I was planning to picture the ocean today, but like, okay, So I like to kind of just do my own thing to music. Sometimes, especially if I'm working on a role or have an audition where it's a little different for me, or if it's like it's kind of out of my wheelhouse, I'll throw on like a soundtrack and kind of meditate to that.
Oh, I like that.
Because then you picture your character in a movie. It's really fun, actually.
Oh, I'm gonna take that tip. That's a great tip.
Well, it's a great tip too when if you get a role on set and there's like a dramatic thing, like when you're on set, to be listening to it right before you do the scene.
I've done that before even for theater. I've done that where it's just like you get into that kind of like that darkness if you're playing villainous kind of things it's so great. I was going to ask you actually, because you both, Raquel, I mean, Ocean, you're about to go travel to a new space, which is going to disrupt your routine for a certain amount of time. Raquel, you are in the beginning of doing that, and I remember, Donna, when you went to Montreal, and actually when you did the first podcast we did together, and you were talking about how you have to hold that whole production. If you're a lead, you have to be able to hold that kind of stress. So I have two questions. One, how do you deal with stress when so much is out of your control? And two, how do you like boss at that level as well, right? Because Ocean's going to have to go to Thailand and then be like, boss, like, this is what I'm doing. This is how I'm, this is Ocean 2.8, whichever iteration, the Thailand version of Ocean. With Raquel, you're like, I'm in South Africa now. This is like Raquel 2.0, but it's temporary because I know I have to come back. And at some point you have to come back here because we have to do more content. So that there
getting asked when I'm going to come back to Canada.
There are changes that need to happen. So Donna, this is my question for you, because I think those are two massive things. How do you cope with stress? Like what's your routine when it's a disruption time, like when you're set time, especially with Hallmarks and like movie of the weeks where it's like 2 or 3 weeks and you're like shooting 18 hours a day sometimes, and you don't get the choice of food and you don't get all these choices. So start with that one and then we'll go to the second one.
Well, I think this is why my sort of way of life, I know we were talking about it, about how you're very set schedule, very routine, and that gives you comfort. I think because when I'm not on set, I don't really have too much of a routine. Like really, it really depends on the day. if I'm not really feeling it, sometimes I'll just be like, oh, I guess we're working out today, and roll out of bed and not eat something, chug a coffee. Or if I'm feeling very positive, I'm like, okay, I'm going to make some healthy breakfast. I'm going to have a smoothie. My life is very go with the flow. So when I get to a set and they're like, oh, this is a schedule, I'm like, okay, cool. Oh, no, we're starting this. Now we're doing a night shift. Now we're doing this. Like I'm very well adjusted to not knowing what's going on.
You're adjusted to chaos.
Yeah, kind of.
Yeah.
And it's not really
it's
chaos,
not really chaos
to me.
Yeah. That's how it sounds in my brain.
Unattachment.
Unattachment.
Non-attachment.
Yeah. I'm not very attached to like a schedule, I guess you could say, right? So it doesn't really disrupt much. If anything, I get excited. I'm like, oh, cool. What do we get to do today? You know? So.
I like that, but I also
You're a Scorpio too, right?
Yeah, it was John's birthday not too long ago.
Yeah.
I'm a Scorpio too. That's why I know, but I'm just curious if it's like a personality trait too. Are
you the same way, Ocean? Or do you have like
too?
No, but do you have like regimented things?
No. That's why I really relate to Donna. And for me, actually going to Thailand, there's more of a schedule because everything, the food is healthier there, the routine, the lifestyle, everything is health, right? So I focus more on my health, and I feel like I have more of a routine there than I do here. Find it's more challenging here.
Yeah. If anything, on set, I have to reel it in because free food all the time and snacks all the time.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
Like, stay up late and post stuff and chat with the cast when you probably should be sleeping if you've done 12 hours and whatever. Like, I have to reel it in from all the excitement and I guess maybe chaos for in other people's eyes, but like that usually excites me. But I have to be like, okay, you know what? Maybe today let's all eat let's eat more vegetables today. Say no to the candy. Yeah,
that crafty truck is like, it's monstrous. Although they have gotten more and more healthy over the years. Like there's so many more options now than 5 years ago when they didn't really.
The whole pandemic kind of helped with the menu.
Oh my God.
Because I hold it close to my heart. A pandemic. It's such a bad thing that happened, but so many good things came out of it, even though it's such a terrible thing. So it's like I talk about it, like I just hold it close to my heart. The pandemic. The pandemic made the trucks put menus out, so you're not going to be like, hey, can I have 6 donuts? But you're like, you know what? I think I should have veggies and hummus. But if it was out like it was before, I would have 6 donuts if they were there and I was bored. Yeah.
Oh
the pandemic has helped me in very many ways.
So what is
your question? Can I ask a question for all of you?
Of course.
Because for me, sometimes there isn't a separation between tons of excitement and stress. Like my nervous system processes it the same way. And I'm really curious for you, like being on set, it's exciting. There's so much things. And what does that feel like for you in your body versus being fearful, worried, have too much to do? Is there a separation in the physical sensation for you? You can all answer
great that. Question.
Do you want to answer first?
No.
Okay.
Donna, what does being overly excited do to you compared to being worried?
Well, this is the thing I've asked, or I tell new actors or new performers, like new singers, is all this, I guess you could see it as stress. And this, Ocean, from your practices and stuff, like excitement and stress is just all energy, So how I see it is like, which helped me on set when I had my freaking neck brace on and I was on Oxycontins and everything else to like deal with it.
You are a warrior.
It was insanity, but it was like a great learning experience because this stress that we put on ourselves, especially on set, like you walk on set, there's, 50 people, crew working, there's pressure to get it done. There's a time frame, especially on the lower budget ones where you only have 1 or 2 takes to get this right. And that could be stressful if you think about it like in a, like, oh my God, I have to get all this done. And they're like, what if they screw up? But those nerves and that stress, if you channel it as like energy to get it done, your body just revving up to give you the energy to handle whatever you have coming at your way, then it's not stress to me. Like I thank it for being there. Does that make sense? And it completely made sense because no matter what physical condition you are in on set, you could always count on these nerves to come in, this stress, this energy to come meet you and be there for you when the pressure's on, you know? Like I barely remember what we shot that first week because I was so high on Oxycontins because I was in so much pain. But I counted on like, okay, I know my stuff. I know this script. I know these lines. And like between takes, I would be like, oh my gosh, they would put the neck brace on. And they're like, okay, we're rolling. And then like they would take it off. And of course, the pressure to get this done, even when you're on whatever, is all there. And it's pressure, but it's energy. And it would come through me. And then I get it. I do the take, get my neck brace back on, and then sink back into like, okay, now we're in pain. Like you be on, you get it done because you use that stress, and then you relax. And then I would ask the director, I was like, are we good? Are you happy with everything? She's like, I can't even tell that you're feeling whatever. And that's because you always have this energy there to be there for you. So when new actors or new performers are talking about nerves, I'm like, thank those nerves. Those aren't nerves. That's energy. To be like, thank you, I'm grateful. And then when it's too much, Ocean, for your question, like when there's a lot of pressure, if someone's being a little negative, or if you're not clicking with the communication or whatnot, you just have to kind of be like, this is how I deal with it. I kind of talk to myself and talk to the stress, talk to the energy. I say, okay, thank you for being here, but I don't need all of you right now, You can just back off. Like, thank you for being here. I'll reserve you for when we need you, but we could just chill a little. So that's how I deal with it. It's just a little more fun for me to think of it that way. As being there for you as a positive thing for when you need it, and being able to work with it to your advantage.
Yeah, so, stress is like Stitch Monster.
Yeah.
And then you're like,
I was like, what is Stitch Monster?
Yeah, like Lilo and Stitch.
Yeah.
Oh, Lilo and Stitch. Okay.
Yeah.
So on that note, you've intuitively picked up on what they've actually researched, which is that stress is really good for us, but only depending on how you view it. So they did research on people with low stress, on people with really high stress who thought it was a good thing, and people with really high stress who thought it was a bad thing. And the people with the, not the highest mortality rate, but the people who were dying the fastest, I guess, they were the ones who had high stress but thought it was a bad thing, followed by the people with low to no stressful lives. And then the ones who lived the longest were the ones with high stress who valued stress. So
Donna's gonna live forever.
I value that stuff. It's good for you.
It's really good for you, but it really does depend how you see it. And really what's happening is our bodies are being primed for war or for fight or flight. And so the important part is I think accepting the physical side of it. And to answer your question, Ocean, I do feel it similar, but there's definitely a different level that I get to when it's considered a bad stress. So if it's something where I have negative thoughts around it, like, oh, I'm not going to perform well on this, or, whatever it is, if there's some kind of like misconception in my brain that's saying this is bad, then it heightens to a level that I can't get past it in a good way. Whereas if it's happening in a way where I'm saying, okay, this is useful, I can just center right in and I can perform really, really well. So I think it takes, for me, it's taken a lot of practice to learn how to reroute my brain. And there's certain things where it's very, very difficult, or sometimes just, I don't even know, I haven't been able to do it yet. Certain triggers that I'll say like, okay, I just can't make that good. And then there's other triggers.
We cannot
I'll
see
bring
you.
it back. I'll bring it back. There's other triggers that will, I can switch them over to like a healthy mode.
Right. Well, while Raquel is changing her battery pack on the new camera that we've just invested in, my answer to the question is, I didn't actually think about it until you just said it. So I had just this instantaneous light bulb moment of like, oh, wait, what? Wait, when I am really stressed out and in crisis mode, the same thing is happening as when I'm really excited, and I'm not doing good things about either of those things. However, so to answer your question, I think my body responds in a very similar way, and thank you for telling me that that's what's happening, because now when when I do a show or I do something, and Donna, you probably know this as well, like if you're doing something in front of a lot of people or with a lot of energy coming towards you, I'm pretty introverted in a lot of ways, and that drains me. But I haven't really been acknowledging that and taking recovery from happy stress. Well, I'll call it happy stress situations. With negative stress situations, I have now just started to be like, okay, I need downtime. I need to be alone. I need to recharge. And recharging is having a one-on-one thing. Like Ocean and I will go for a walk. Like that's recharging for me. Going to a party with like, I have friends who are very extroverted, and obviously parties are not the same. Parties are like 7 to 10 people now, because of pandemic.
Pandemic.
But even going to a party and having to organize things and go out and be present around other people, even if that's a happy situation, I still need downtime. If I do a show, I'm so high and I'm like, this is amazing. That went so well. I got such great applause. But I need downtime. And I'm just recognizing now what that actually means. Because I've been speaking on panels more recently, and in very high stress situations that are so exciting on world forums, and not taking care of myself afterwards. And I think I need to take a step back and observe what's just light bulbed, thanks to Ocean.
Well, thank you all for your answers. And you just sort of nailed it right there too, is that with the body. So for me, my body doesn't know the difference, whether it's fearful or excited. If I get too much energy coming through, too much excitement, I have a stress response. But my brain will be like, I have to have a conversation with myself. I'm like, Ocean, this is amazing. You've got all these wonderful opportunities. You should be really happy. But my body starts to panic because it's like, it's too excited. I can do this and I can do that. Right. And so I need to take care of the body. And I held an event, right? Held a 1-day retreat, and it went well, and we sold out, and it was beautiful, and everyone had an amazing experience. But I was holding space for 15 people all day. The next day I was shattered, and in my mind, I'm like, it should be like on a high because this was so much fun and it was good. But because I was leading, my nervous system, body, like I really needed 2 days just to sleep and do nothing. And, even Donna, like I was just cracking up laughing right there at your pandemic thing, because reason being, you took something that could be, the pandemic, right? That's like, if I say it like that, it's heavy, it's, but no, we're going to make it light, pandemic. Right. And so it really comes down to our narrative about any situation. And so within this, to deal with the stress, and working with people too, they're like, they describe our current situation, even globally, if it feels like the walls are closing in, we're on a time frame, we have to make quick decisions. I don't know if I should stay or if I should go, and even describing it's hard to breathe. I don't want to make the wrong decision. I'm concerned about family. And, I feel that in my body too. I'm like, oh, and within that, and even my life changes. I'm like, if I'm running that, I feel quite stressed. The other narrative is, one, there's no wrong decision. You can't make a wrong decision. You're just making a different decision. You can't make a wrong decision in this. And how about this is a new adventure, and there's possibility on the other side, and it could be something exciting. And when we start to talk like that, like I feel, oh, if I say the word adventure, like it really is semantics, right?
Oh, yeah,
I feel better.
Oh, language.
This is what I mean, pandemic. Doesn't it make sense?
Yeah.
Like it makes me smile to think about it. And not to say that all that other heavy stuff isn't, this is the other thing that I need to acknowledge myself more, is because I am a pretty positive person and outwardly positive, and I don't acknowledge that there's some heavy stuff going on with me once in a while, and a lot of the time where you have this positive mindset, but there is a lot of things happening, and we're really, remember the forest fires and everything's going on and everyone's trying to just live their best lives, going to work and stuff. Well, it seems like the world's actually falling apart. And the only thing you can really do is try to see a positive outlook while there is all this crap happening. Like you do carry the heaviness in your body with this positive mindset. And you have to, it's very important to find ways to release that. Like Sessions with Ocean is fantastic for that.
I gotta come see you before you leave, Ocean. We're gonna do it.
I thank you. I want to bring up the word too. I'm just curious if you guys have heard it, and maybe you've heard it from me, but spiritual bypassing.
No, tell me the story.
Well, so I deal with it in the work that we do, because I'm all about looking at the shadow side and the light, right? So in a way, it's like toxic positivity. Well, so when I say that we need to change our narrative, sometimes it doesn't mean like, well, let's just say that everything's okay and disregard what's actually going on in our lives or in the world, but having that balance of being like, okay, the one narrative is, I feel fearful, afraid, I feel like the walls are closing in, so I'm recognizing that, or recognizing, Donna, like you're saying, then the mind might be saying, oh, we should just have a positive outlook, but the body's like, oh, I'm really heavy. So we need to acknowledge both, right? But sometimes then if you acknowledge, oh, I'm feeling like a lot of tension in my hips, I'm locked up on my jaw, like, what is that about? I'm running a lot of thoughts in my head that are fearful. Maybe I can change the narrative, and in doing so, the body starts to relax.
I often find it's difficult for many people who are looking for a system whereby they can subscribe to a formula and be healed and be better, right? Because I am very much someone who can do that, but I've counteracted it by virtue of my parents being them and me learning how to read everything and not subscribe to just one system or structure. So the most difficult thing I find, especially with a lot of entertainment industry professionals who I coach or mentor or have conversations with, they think that they need to know a system for success and a system to get them out of that fearful mentality for their career. But they haven't learned how to actually just prioritize and put, like Raquel and I were speaking about this before, about the ingredients of their own cake of, this is my wellness foundation, and everyone has different elements. So when you say, like, learning how to listen, that in itself for me was such a long journey to be like, I think I'm listening, but really I'm not. My mind is dictating to my mind and to my to my heart and my body. So I would not get sick. I would be like, no, we're not getting ill. We're going to do this. We're going to get through exams, and then we're going to get, and then my body will shut down for 2 weeks in rebellion. So one of the things that I find, going back to the external forces versus internal, is when you're going through, in my mind, you have two fadas of existence. You have the fader that I call your human meatbag citizen of the world fader, which if which if you're too
Oh,
high,
you always get me with that meatbag word.
oh, the meatbag fader word. Yeah, so you're a human meatbag citizen of the world. If you are too far up on this fader, you're the Greta Thunberg, nothing wrong with, but like amazing human being. But you are on a Greenpeace ship. You're doing everything for the safety of the planet. You are basically essentially saying the world is on fire. I am going to dedicate my life to saving it. And that is an amazing, honorable thing to do. However, it is only honorable if also your second fader, which is your soul's ascension fader, is at a good level as well. Because if your soul's ascension fader, that's basically you leaving the world as a better soul than when you started. And the other one is you leaving the world better than you found it. And I think that existentially, the human experience is just my opinion and my little analogy for it. But the human experience is understanding where you're at in either of those faders, at what time in your life. Because some people, like Donna, when you say like, you know, sometimes I have that moment where I'm like, I don't know, I'm just being super positive and kind of pushing down some of the other things. You are also, though, acutely aware of your responsibility as someone who is a leading lady, who is championing representation, who is an extraordinary fire friend, and you are contributing to the world being better than when you found it. And I think sometimes other people, when they go through a lot of these existential crises on their own soul's ascension side, or on the career side, or on the world side, where you're like, the world is falling in and I don't know what I'm doing, you're not recognizing where you're at in that mix. And just knowing that there are these, and there are so many more that we can talk about, but if you hit those two, in my mind, anyone that I speak to, if I just give them those two, they're like, oh, okay, now I can feel good about doing what I can to be socially responsible and doing what I can to live my human experience and be a better soul. And I think that then you can start to ask the question, what do I need right now? Where is the stress coming from? What do I address?
I love that analogy. That's fantastic. Faders. It's like you're like a little life DJ.
You're like DJ.
Yeah. I love it. I love it.
Because a lot of people focus on where's the stress. They don't focus on where am I at in the world.
Mm-hmm. I want to know how you guys deal, because I've been recently thinking about this myself. How you deal with other people's energy. So I find I'm really sensitive to other people's energy. And
vampires.
Certain people more than others. Like certain people, if they're upset, I'm a pretty happy person, but like I'm like struggling. I'm like trying to swim out of this like dark cloud, and they might even feel better, and I'm like, I'm still lost in the dark cloud. Like how, especially for you, Ocean, like you work with people in trauma release. Like how do you stop that from taking over?
Honestly, I love working with people because when they show up, they want that stuff to move. It is so much easier for me in that dynamic than it is sometimes to deal like with just day-to-day life. And again, it's because the intention is to move the stuff through. And it's so soul fulfilling for me because I believe we need deep connection for our survival as much as we need air. There are studies that are done, you know, if children, even if they're, you know, they're in an incubator, they're fed, they're given everything that they need externally. If they're not physically touched and loved, they'll will die. We need that connection. Yeah. And so, you know, I become, and this, you know, even what you're saying, you know, you're in a sense becoming a sponge to people's energy, soaking it up. Right. And it's like, and I'm carrying their stuff. So I'm very mindful of like, okay, I will be a conduit for whatever comes through, but together we're moving it out. I'm not soaking your stuff up. That's not my stuff, you know? And so it's beautiful for me. Like I get something out of the process as well, because I'm present in that moment. I'm like, okay, we're breathing and we're moving and we're doing that together. So in that way, I'm quite aware. I'm aware of my movement and body language when that energy is coming in, because if I wasn't, then 100%, I instantly, maybe you guys have experienced this too, where someone's like, oh, my back is hurting. And they're just saying it. And if you spend a bit of time with them and then you leave, even if it was like you went for coffee, and you might even be like, my back kind of hurts now. And there's some transference. I don't know. That's happened to me. It's happened to me working with people, and even just like you're saying, that empathetic side where they're telling you a sad story, and rather than holding space and just observing them, you actually take on their pain.
Yeah.
And this is, I think, a habit that a lot of people have if they're not aware, if they don't do a meditation practice, if they don't do physical work, exercising, doing martial arts, doing yoga, doing this stuff helps move that. But people that are in the office all day and they're in their head all day, and then they go and they're around other people, might just soak up, and then they act out too.
How do you deal with it in daily life then? Like with like just a normal person, how do you, like, I energy shield. I full on energy shield.
What
like,
does that mean? What is an energy shield, and how do I get one?
Buy now for $9.99.
Everything's on Amazon. It's the new Bombshell Brunches merch.
Yes.
It's like one of those COVID visors, but it's like this big. If you hold it in front of them, you talk to them.
Negative energy shields.
They're pandemic suits.
Pandemic shield.
There are many ways that you can do it. The simplest way I actually learnt from Mark Lamore, who has trained in healing practices, and it's a variation of this. But one of my aunties actually taught me when I was 10 years old, and she basically said, imagine take a minute, imagine a bright light surrounding you. Actually visualize. It's a very strong visualization exercise. And whether you're spiritual, religious, whatever, like ask whoever it is, to the universe. I just say the universe, ask for an energy shield to be placed around you, and for it to be cleaned, and for it to be blessed, and for any negative energy to be removed from that field. But the main thing is the actual act of visualization, and visualizing an invisible shield. Like I like to think of it as like a whirlwind around me with a little whipped cream top.
Does it work because you stopped
100%? No. No. That's
so
Just
busy
shut it
visualizing that you're just like, I can't hear you.
What's that? What? It honestly, I went through a phase where I couldn't digest food for a while. Like it would just too much information, but it just ran straight through me, no matter what I ate. And our stomachs, as Ocean has taught me a lot, is a massive energy center, right? So I couldn't digest food, and I started doing this energy shield every day. And I was in a very toxic professional environment at the time, with a lot of people who were extremely unhappy with their careers, their own lives, and even people who would come across as really happy. You could tell that they were so out of control in their own, out of perceived control, and I will say out of power, actually. They felt out of power. And so I was getting drained. I started doing this, and I could physically feel the energy come towards me and stop before me. And I could eat within a week. I could eat again, because I was so used to, and this is one thing I was going to ask Donna about, because I find I'm a songwriter. I live in the profession of emotions. So I am constantly putting my heart out, putting it out in front of the table, and being asked to give emotionally all the time. So your channels are professionally open more than so many other people, and other people who work in, right? How do you feel about that, Donna?
It's a gift and a curse, man. Holy. It's such a gift to be that sensitive and to be able to empathize so easily and feel other people's emotions. It's such a gift in my industry, because that's what we're paid to do. And if you can do it, if you do it naturally, like people have to, you train your instrument to be able to hone that in and get details in and work with it and whatnot. But holy, in real life, it's a curse.
Well, if you don't, like Ocean makes it, I want to learn how to make it a conduit. Like when I played Mrs. Lovett, Sweeney Todd, that is a dark role. Like that is a very dark role. And I've met with actors who are not trained in the same ways, and people who we all have heard the stories of the actors that have gone insane
Yeah.
because they cannot get rid of their characters. And I felt that with Mrs. Lovett when I was prepping.
Oh, honey.
And it wasn't a bad thing
Hard.
because, but you felt it before as well, where you get into this place and you're like, I need to let you go. Like, you need to, this is time for you to leave. It's time for you to leave.
Right.
I'm getting goosebumps as you're saying that.
No, the people train in different ways, so many different ways. And like my instrument, thankfully, when it comes to acting, like my acting emotionality and my real life emotionality, it's dealt with very differently. When I take on a character, I know this is going to sound a little hoity-toity, but when I take on a character, I'm open up to whatever moves through me, and it's not my stuff. You know,
yes,
like I could have these death scenes and whatever, it moves through me and then it leaves because it's not mine, you know?
Yeah, but that's a great key. You're acknowledging that it's not yours. And I think a lot of people don't do that. They go too method, or they go too into, and it's not actually, I shouldn't say method, because method in its course sense is good and a great way of training. But being the conduit and letting it go through and knowing it's not you.
Well, see, that's when I was training acting, that's my acting coach, Shay Hampton, actually taught me that.
Shay!
Yeah, she's great. She's like, it's not your stuff. So it's going to be whatever it is. It'll be ugly as ugly as it is. It's not your stuff. We don't use substitution and whatnot. I know Ocean and Raquel, you're not actors, but it's like part of the training. Some people train where they have this, maybe a death scene or whatever, and they take and think of a relative or someone close to them that has died. And I think that work is very, very dangerous because then you carry it with you afterwards. Like you're using your actual real emotions. The thing is though, I mean, it might come out amazing on camera or whatnot, but if you can, we're as actors, we should be able to come up with a performance without having to put yourself through that. That's just my opinion.
I don't think it should be I think there needs to be a distinction surrounding actual true danger, because we don't know enough about energy as a society and as a world to be able to really risk those. And we've lost people for it. You know, we've lost a lot of professionals for it in many ways, and actually not just in acting, but when you see, like, I read an article from the Harvard Business Review years ago about how the impact of being a CEO or being someone of that high power with those decision-making responsibilities that actually damages part of your brain so that you cannot access emotions in the same way. And I have to say, I have friends who are in very senior positions and with very high stress in that capacity situations, and they're actually blocked off. Like they are comfortable for me to be around because they're not throwing emotions at me. They're solving massive problems. And that's a different type of issue to have, you know?
Well, see, I mean, I could learn from how I translate emotions acting wise, where it's not my stuff, and let it go and like, see you later, you know? And it would be great if I could really translate that in real life, but it's a little different. It's very different. And I've tried that whole visual energy shield thing, and it helps a little bit. I find the best thing that helps for me is to just start observing and getting really curious about what this person's saying, what they're going through, instead of taking it on. And then also what is very, very important is, like, of course, there are some people where you can be safe being completely empathetic and sensitive because they're not dumping on you. They're not like, you know how, I mean, you guys know, I love being a hype person. It comes so naturally to me. I love giving love. I have so much to give. If I could give all the women of the universe, like 110% confidence, like, oh my God, I would love to do that. It's so easy for me. However, some people see that energy and just want to take it and take it and take it and take it. And I have so much to give, but at a certain point when you're getting dumped on, or people, it's not cyclical. Is that the word?
I like cyclical.
Reciprocated.
Yeah, reciprocated. Even in, like, I don't need to be reciprocated so much, but like when someone knows, oh, I'm feeling down, I have nothing to contribute to this friendship, to this relationship, but Donna makes me feel fantastic. And they'll just keep like calling on me. And I'm happy to hype people up. And I still do it, but I have to protect my energy and be more observant instead of taking on their problems. Because a lot of people will victimize themselves in so many ways and need a hype person to make them feel good, just so they could validate themselves in the moment to go back to their bullshit right after.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh yeah.
So,
I love that.
And then you're carrying that backpack around like, don't worry, I've got your bullshit over here.
Yeah, no, but like, oh my God. The thing is, like,
it's Thursday.
Yeah. And the whole pandemic, before the pandemic, I was involved with like a pretty toxic community with people. Like I had a lot of friends by proximity that, you know, generally in general, good people or whatever, but allowing to have complete access to my energy and my unconditional love and support when I didn't really get much back, but I wasn't really thinking about it before the pandemic. I'm just, you know, being myself. And then when you're dealing with such heavy stuff, you have to realize you have to conserve your good shit for yourself and the people who earn their spot to have that. You know, there are people who earn that spot because where you feel safe to be empathetic to their problems because you know they do the same and they're not doing it to take something from you. They're sharing with you. Like I do feel like, especially with women like us, it is a privilege to know women like you. It's such a privilege because I get to see how you overcome obstacles. I get to see, like, even in your suffering, you're inspiring. In your celebration, you're obviously inspiring, you know? And it's like, for everybody to have that access to your wins, your losses, and not knowing what their intentions are, not knowing how they feel about it, like, you got to protect that. And when you are dealing with new people or people who aren't that close to you that you do want to help or whatnot, instead of them being like, oh, this is happening to me, for you to be like, oh, that's so terrible, and be like, it is terrible and that sucks. This is how I can help you, observing them and being like curious about, like, oh, I wonder how they're dealing with this themselves, instead of taking it on, is a way to protect yourself. You know, like, you, especially in these times, we need so much of our good love for ourselves too, you know?
Actually, that's so well said. And I think that comes back to what Ocean was saying too, about how people are ready to get rid of their traumas when they come to you. And so what we're talking about is people who aren't ready to get rid of whatever shit they're holding on to, but they're having too much of a hard time holding it by themselves, so they're willing to, like, dump on you. But they're not willing to work through it.
Okay,
and
listen.
I think that's the difference between someone wanting
not
to
okay
be like,
to emotionally vomit on someone else because you're not dealing with your stuff.
And you guys, you know what I've learned? You know what I've learned through this, like, pandemic and just growth and everything from all this negative stuff? Some people just really want to complain about their lives and hate their lives in peace. Sometimes, no matter what you say, no matter what you do, no matter how you try and help them, they want to get validated in the moment. They want to take some of your good energy, thank you for it, and go back on their bullshit and come back when they've made the same mistakes, made the same decisions, just so they could feel better about themselves, so they could go back and do it again. Like, sometimes you just have to let people be and let them complain about their lives in peace.
Let them go. Well,
and, like, wish them well.
I feel that, like, our energy is the most valuable thing that we have. So that's why too, like, don't waste it on people. And it's so simple. Again, come back to the body. Like, how do you feel in your own body around that person? Are you going into contraction? You know, are you feeling agitated? And maybe it is about you, but your body's telling you, the body is so much smarter than the mind. The mind will be like, oh, whatever, it's no big deal. Or this is a good person, or they might have something for me. But your body, your stomach's knotting up. You can't eat. It's like, it really is that simple. You know, you feel good or you don't feel good in that person's presence.
I call them vampires. They're vampires, and some of them were the sweetest and are the sweetest people I know. where I'm like, hey, you know, I'm operating on a different vibrational frequency to you. And that is not, it's not a better, worse, it's not good or bad. It's just not me. It's not my energy. And I think that's what you were saying, Donna. And I love, you're just even a hype person, even when you're explaining something, you're hyping everyone else up. It's so great. But this is why I have always been so proud of people like you who, and Ocean as well, who like, and obviously Raquel, I'm not complimenting Raquel enough today because I feel like this is our first.
I'm good. I don't know.
But every single one of you is the type of person, like, I'll get a voice note from Raquel saying, babe, I just want you to know that you're doing a really great job, because she knows that I love compliments. And the same thing with when you're letting go of people, because like you say, Ocean, it's the most important thing that we have is our energy. And there are some people that just aren't, they're taking, and which means it's not sustainable. Whereas when I have a conversation like this is what Raquel and I have determined as generative. We like generative relationships and generative friendships, and people who are constantly, by virtue of who they are, generating inspiration, generating joy for what we do. And so it doesn't matter to me if Donna is helping me. It matters to me who Donna is. Because then if I get the luxury of being around Donna, then it's a bonus. But if we're busy and I'm away, I get to know that there's someone in my periphery, not just my closest fire friends. And Donna is one of those as well, which is a luxury. But people now in my periphery who are operating at the same level, who are generous, who are kind, who are socially minded. And that is, I think, what, when we talk about releasing stress and dealing with the world around us, dealing with those people, recognizing that there are some people, family members, people in your life that are non-negotiable, and sometimes people who you just can't release, who don't have good energy. Those are people that you need to shield and conduit. And then the people that you choose to have around you are those that you can sit down with and feel amazing and feel like a generated human being when you leave.
And safe.
And safe.
Yeah, and safe. Safe is a big one.
So
okay,
safe.
rapid fire, because I know we have to wrap this up soon, but
Yes.
I had 2 more questions that I wanted to ask, so we can maybe just go around the loop and do rapid fire answers. One is the routines you have to stay on top of releasing stress or reducing stress around you. So just daily routines that you do, or weekly, or what have you. The second one is your Hail Mary. So you've hit burnout, you're there, welcome, you're going to stay for a while. What do you do to recoup and get back into your well-oiled machine self?
Ocean, I talked a lot, so you go for it.
Well, I would say simplest, and something that I suggest to all my clients and friends that I do is have little anchors. Smell is a big one for me. So I have probably 50 bottles of aromatherapy oils, and like just even opening the lid and like, oh yeah, that instantly, I love sunshine, you know, the sage sunshine and deep breath and present moment. And I find that so grounding. So that's my instant go-to, like come in the house, do it. And you guys have been to my house, you know, it smells good when you come in.
Oh, yeah.
Also the yoga mat. If I put the yoga mat out on the floor, I have a really nice mat. To me, that's like a magic carpet. And just seeing it, I'm like, okay, it's a reminder. When I travel also, because I don't have a set schedule, but there are things like a blanket. I always travel with a blanket, right? You can call it a security blanket, whatever, but it's something that literally you put it over you and it creates stability. So the smell, again, all of our senses, right? Sound, relaxing music for the mind, sound, smell, touch, something soft, the yoga mat, grounding, yoga blocks. Like that's a little kit that I'll take around everywhere and do every day. And then you heard me mention massage already. Like when I'm really wound up, like deep, the gua sha, right? Scraping. And I love body scrubs. Like when I feel just like collected other people's stuff, right? I love going for a body scrub. It's like, get it off, get it all off, you know? Scrub it off. sauna it off and
Or
clear it
get bean
out.
and body butter
Mhm.
exfoliating body
So
scrub.
nice.
It's so great. It's so great.
Yeah.
Or dry brush even. I find the
Yes.
dry
Oh,
brush is sometimes nice.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. If you can't go somewhere else, I just did that last week. Get the gloves and like all the dead
Yes.
stuff, other people's stuff. That's me.
Donna?
Well, that's so interesting. It's so sensory for you. I should try some of that stuff. For me, like, which question are we answering first?
So your daily routines that basically just keep you in a good mindset, so stress doesn't really stick to you as much.
Right, and then what happens when you do major stress? Oh, okay. Yeah. Well, exercise for me, for sure, especially going to my gym where there's boxing and Muay Thai. Like, it's a bit social too, and you have a partner keeping you accountable. And then if you're partnering with me, we're having fun, we're laughing and stuff. So that's like the only thing that I know I stick to that is, I guess, called routine in my life that helps me deal with stress and keeps me grounded and whatnot. Yeah. And journaling helps, but I only really journal when I'm at the brink of like breaking down, that's when like the other stuff comes out. Like if I read through my old journals, I'm like, oh damn, I was really fucked up then. I'm just like, oh, I remember that time. Oh geez. Or when I'm really excited about something and want to remember it, then I'll journal. But I guess, is that routine? No.
Well, that's brink of burnout as well. That's brink of burnout.
And I should try some of that sensory stuff. The other things I deal with, like when I'm stressed, like negatively holding stuff, is going to someone that I feel safe with, like some of my girlfriends who are just queens. I could dump on them, like my thoughts are either validated or squashed. They will tell me like, you're being a little unreasonable now or whatnot. Like I need to talk it out with a safe friend, a good friend. That usually helps de-stress me, because also saying it out loud, whatever's stressing you out, when you say it out loud, a lot of the times you're like, well, damn, that's not something to be really stressed about.
Yeah.
Then you're like, why am I even talking about this? Shouldn't even be worried about this. That really helps me so much. Like coming in just guns blazing, like this is pissing me off, or I don't know why this is happening. And then as you're saying it, usually now, especially that I feel like I've grown a lot and there's more awareness, I'll be saying things, and as they're coming out of my mouth, I'll just be like, yeah, I'm not so stressed about that anymore, because that sounds really stupid, actually. Am I PMSing? I might be PMSing, So that's how I deal.
Love it. Raquel?
So for daily, exercise is also huge for me, and I realized for me the kickboxing is a massive one. So that's the one thing that I did actually. I forgot to talk about that when we were last talking about routines, but when I was in Amsterdam, that was my one big thing that I could not let go of. So I started doing kickboxing again when I was back there. Walks in nature. I have to find nature, and in Amsterdam, it's a little bit hard. Like there is nature around, but it's hard to be distanced from people. I need that like quiet, solitary. So sometimes that's why the early mornings are so important for me, to go for that morning walk first thing. And then sometimes it's just finding a bench and sitting towards the canals and just like having a moment of just quiet. So that's a really big one for me. And then when I'm hitting burnout mode, actually, funny enough, as we're all talking, I realized I travel. I take, like, I get out of Dodge.
You adventure.
That's fun.
I adventure. I need to, like, distance myself physically from whatever it is, even if it's something mental. Like, to me, that sticks in a certain place. I need to get out. I need to change my routine. I need to shake things up. And then I can really start processing it and thinking differently rather than having thought loops. That really, when I really hit that, like, okay, we've really gotten there, that's what I need to do. I just need to get out of there. And it could be, if I was in Vancouver, a trip to the island and just do a long weekend in the island. Or oftentimes when I was living in Vancouver, I would go to California because my best friend lives there, and so I'd do a quick trip to California and stay there for a couple weeks. And whatever it is, sometimes I've gone to Europe. Right now I'm in Africa.
So cool.
But yeah, like it just takes getting out of there, I think, for me, when I've really hit that mark. How about for you, Christina?
My daily routines, everyone knows, because they're on Instagram. So it's morning mindfulness. So my morning mindset routine. But more, what I don't articulate nearly as much is I work with sound and song. So if I'm not singing, every few days I get physically down. So I must sing. It is something that I must do. It is one of my core reasons for existing, I believe. And I calm down on a daily while listening to sound. I will listen to the same deep focus playlist while I'm working. And for someone who works in the music industry, I have no idea what's going on in the outside world because I'm just like pop charts, no idea, because I'm listening to deep focus. So I'm song and sound based primarily. I do use other sensory things, but those are the main non-negotiable things. And then if I'm about to burn out, very similar, I need safe sanctuary. And that is often away from my current situation of where I am, just so that I can have a different experience. It needs to be out in nature, or I need to get myself out into nature. And Larry, my career coach, who is also part of my daily and like my regular practice, I have someone who I go and see every single week who is objectively championing me. And now he's a bit more subjective because we've worked together for so long, but who is deeply invested in my success. And the difference between someone who is a family member and sometimes even friends is that I can take on feeling bad for not being, even if they're really, really safe, I can feel like I don't want them to worry. So I have certain people, and Raquel, you're actually an amazing person like this, because we say this a lot. We weren't really that good friends. So we have this relationship where we're purely invested and we're becoming friends, but it's becoming friends later. But first we're invested in each other's success. And I think having someone or mechanisms or certain people that you really, and I feel that very much with like Donna and with you, Ocean, where I'm like, we've had conversations where I'm like, I want you to win and I want you to focus and I want you to do these things, and vice versa. And having those tier of people are really important when you get to burnout, I think. Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, we did it.
We did our first.
Yeah. Thank you, guys.
Oh, thank you. Our wonderful, wonderful friends, our fire friends. This was such a great brunch.
Fun.
Mm-hmm. That was really fun. Thanks for having us. First roundtable, Ocean, like VIP, Bombshell Brunch Roundtable.
I'm looking forward to the pandemic bombshell apparel coming out.
Oh my gosh.
The big energy shields.
Oh yeah, we'll just be walking around with that new merch, these giant bubbles.
Pandemic bomb shield.
Bomb shield.
Right?
Yeah.
Right? Give you guys permission to refer to the pandemic as a pandemic as well.
I appreciate that. We will trademark it, Donna B. The Pandemic by Donna B. The new fragrance.
Someone else called it that before me. I can't take credit.
Well, safe travels, Ocean. Raquel, safe settling in. Donna, safe relaxing and being your chillax self. And I'll see you for happy hour soon.
Yeah, very soon.
And a kickboxing class.
Yeah.
Yes.
And we'll catch you soon. I hope you all enjoyed this.
Yeah, we did.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us.
Pleasure.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
Thanks for listening, Bombshells. In order to continue to elevate, subscribe and don't forget to click that little bell so you can get notified every time we have a new badass brunch. Until next time, stay focused, fierce, and fabulous.